We're going to have this conversation of a topic that I find really interesting because I'm a classic, old-fashioned photographer that I do this very boring, apparently normal stuff. And I've been interested in this new or not so new way of doing documentary photography that I would say that has been going on for a few years now, new journalism as well. And both of you, Toni and Fiorenza, besides being mentors in LABASAD, which is a school of design in Barcelona, you are professionals in the sector as well and other things. And I would like to know more about this whole, contemporary photography, new documentary photography, what that means, what that entails. And I have a million questions about it. And so, but to start, if you want, Fiorenza, Toni, whatever you prefer, you can introduce yourself.
So hi, thank you very much, Jorge, for inviting us to do this talk, and we are very happy to be able to share all we are going to talk through, and very curious about your questions. And my name is Toni Amengual. I'm from Mallorca, but I'm based nowadays in Barcelona, and I've been working as a photographer for the last 20 years already. And also, I've been developing a work, or my work has been moving in the art world. So I consider myself as an artist too. And I've been teaching also for 15 years and working in LABASAD for the last 7 years, coordinating and directing the photography area. And well, now we are very happy and thrilled with Fiore to have this new documentary photography masters that we are presenting, and it's well, very interesting program that we are very thrilled to share with you, to talk about. Yeah.
Good. What about you, Fiorenza?
Hi everybody, and thank you for inviting us. I'm Fiorenza Pinna, and I'm an independent curator, book designer, and lecturer, working in the field of photography since almost 20 years, like Toni, and we've been sharing a lot in these years. And I'm mostly focused in curating exhibition and books on contemporary documentary photography, but also other kinds of photography. And my main interests are the work on the conceptualization of the books and exhibition, and I'm also teaching visual language and photo books in different academy. I have curated various exhibitions with really important artists like Joe Sanford, Rinko Kawauchi, but also emerging artists like Pier Giorgio Casotti or Sara Palmieri or other kind of artists. And I'm interested in the collaboration in between people and sharing different experimentation in the space of the exhibition and the photo books. And most of the time also very much interested in the project that have really strong social impact.
Cool. I have a million questions for you as well, because I'm incredibly interested in book design, bookmaking, especially for photography, and the part of writing as well. There's lots of things that I think that both of you and the course that you give, go through that I find that is quite important. So, but I want to start with a little bit of drama, if you want, which is I've seen in your website, in LABASAD and in both of you, well, especially in Toni and some other mentors that you have, is that you make a difference between being a photographer and being an artist.
Yeah, it's a really good starting question, and if you would have asked me this question 10 years ago, I would have said what you've said, that everything's splendid, that there's no difference. But nowadays, my mind has really changed, and being a photographer means getting to know the photography, being able to create images and being able to use photography. But being an artist is, for me, that's something like quite personal, because it seems like everybody knows about art and everybody can talk about art. So I'll say that it's personal. An artist is someone who takes whatever he or she does to the limits of the possibilities of the expression. Meaning that an artist is someone who's pushing the boundaries of what he or she is doing. So, with all my respect, and I've learned as I've been I've been taught as a photographer. Yeah, you can be a really good photographer, but if you are like not pushing the boundaries of the discipline, you are a photographer. If you are pushing the boundaries of the discipline, then maybe you can be an artist. So meaning like everybody who can get a knowledge on photography, like a deep knowledge on photography, is a photographer, 100% sure. But not everybody who's pushing the boundaries is an artist, or so that's the difference there for me. So it's where you want to be. If you want to be a photographer and you don't want to be an artist, it's fine, you are a photographer. But if you want to be an artist, then you have to take more action in this push of the boundaries. That's the way I see it, and that's the way I feel it. So that's why I nowadays I see myself as an artist, because I'm working. I discovered that I was a photographer at some point when I got to know enough, or I have a big knowledge of photography. But then I was wanting to go to a next level. It's just that this is what is done, and I can do what everybody's doing, but I can try to push it harder and do something that it's on the limits that what everybody's doing. That would be my definition and the difference. So that's what I always said. I am a photographer and I am also an artist.
That's a great definition and explanation.
This was really interesting also for me. Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
I don't know, you say a lot. I don't know if I can add something, but I don't know. In my experience, I think it's just a matter of categories and history of arts. And there is this strange positioning of photography at the side of arts history that always want us to make this difference in between photography and art. But for me, photography is just a tool to make art. So the one that decides to use photography for his art is an artist. The one that doesn't feel the need to make art is just a photographer. Then there is many other layers for this discussion and the possibility of a medium. So for me, you can be an artist with any tool, any language. It depends on your intention on one side and on the output, on your production on the other side. So sometimes it's you that decide that you are an artist, and sometimes you define yourself as a photographer, and then you are an artist also, because the history of the production is so strong that it's not only photography. I don't know if this adds something to it.
I think it does. To me, this has been the best explanation of this type of this conflict between photography. No, I'm a photographer and that's not an art, and because in my experience, we work with a couple of galleries in New York, and so we have this strange balance. And I would say that photographers are more familiar now than ever, which is trying to have an intention, a purpose to say something about whatever it is, and also try to figure out how to manage to market yourself in different places, different outlets. And one of them would be, through books, for example, and also through shows and exhibitions and these things. So collaborating with curators, there is no question for them. That's art. So, well, I don't know, it's fine that you want to use it as such, because it's helpful to me, and I see the art on a documentary project, even if it's a classical type way. But I think that both of your explanations is the best way of proposing it at the end, is you can do both, and I think it's pretty cool, because at the end there is this, there is a fine battle, and I think that as part of the program that both you have in LABASAD, is this part as well, which is the marketing part. Is this you have to be also a product, you have to be a brand, you have to put yourself out there and to sell yourself and whatever you want to this package, you know, to put it in different places. That can be a magazine or can be an art gallery, or to have your own audience, which is something that I wanted to ask. So how do you teach that? Because this is something that I find quite complicated, right? Everybody has different approaches to what they want to say. As we established, some people maybe want to know about this contemporary photography or new documentary photography, that it's somehow, I would say, closer to the art or the concept. I don't know, for example, one question that comes to mind often is that when you do projects that are more conceptual, right? Do you need also, for example, a more sophisticated audience for those projects? Or that could be something that can be mainstream as well?
So it's two questions, no?
Yes.
So coming from the last one, that is the most difficult, I think it depends on the project again. So you can have a really keen conceptual project that work only for a niche of the art world or the photo book collector, or and then you can have the same another really conceptual project that can be understood on many layers, and so you can open the audience, and sometimes it's something that is discussed in between the curator and the artist. So coming from the project, talking about the audience. So of course you start from the project and you do the best with the project, but then you have to have clearly in mind what do you want. It's something that we often talk about, and I'm coming from a lesson today, and we've been talking about that, because one of my students, she was working on a conceptual project she was shooting in Africa, and she was questioning very much about the positioning, the point of view of the photographer, and so she wanted to come out with a photo book about this idea of how it's difficult for a Western person to go to Africa and shoot, and not using the photography as a tool of definition or of power. But this is a subject that really can be understood in different way, depending to the audience you are thinking about. Because if you think about the university or the art world, this is a thematic that is quite discussed. But if you think about the common world, it's still something to talk about. So it really depends. And in LABASAD, coming to the first question, we decided to teach that with the LABASAD methodology, with the LABASAD approach. And the LABASAD approach is working with people work in the field. So we're going to have 3 different professionals talking about what they do in the world. And so our idea is that everybody must know how is the world outside, so know all the people that all the most important rules and calendars and meeting places for photography, and how the market is organized. And then you also have to work on you as an author, and how to present you the best. And then you have to present your work the best. So you have to design an output in an exhibition or in a photo book that gives your project the best form to be positioned in the market work. So this is the idea. I don't know, Toni, if you want to say something more.
Yeah, to answer, like, to come.
I was really generical, but I think one of the most important thing is that we have really strong professional working in the school. So, for example, in in the part in this part, this focus on dissemination of the work, we have Eric Kessel, that is one of the most important curator and communicator in the field of photography, and we have Marina Pulenka, that is museum and festival director. So it's through this experience of these persons that we really can teach these really important subjects.
Yeah, to follow with that, in one idea that we had clear from the beginning is that creating a master's like that and creating the program, it's very important to focus on this part of how to create your own brand somehow, or how to make your work to be seen. And it's something that it can sound a bit weird in a maybe in a photography teaching program, but I think it's very cool. Like, if we think about in the history about the photographers that we know and we like and we admire, they create their own brand. And most of the times, like Robert Capa, it wasn't his name. So he even created a name for that. So to put a very classical example. So just it's very important. It's a very important part of the work. Like, being a good photographer, and I'm talking about photography, like photographers. I always say that in class, like that's the beginning. That's a starting point to develop or to become a professional photographer. But like knowing how to shoot interesting images, knowing how to work with images, that's the starting point. Then we have to add layers to this, which is like how to promote yourself, how to move in the market, and then you have to know the rules. You have to know, and that's what Fiore was talking about. Like, we are very lucky to have those instructors like Eric Kessels, who works in advertising too. He's a great known advertiser, and also a big well-known artist or photo artist, because I wouldn't say he's a photographer because he doesn't use a camera for his projects usually. And Marina Pulenka also, like, she's the director of a museum nowadays, and she's been moving in the market for so long.
Right?
Yeah. And so it's very important for us, like you get all the tools that you need, not just to become a better photographer or to become an artist, if it's that you will, but also to know how to live on photography, which I think is very important. And it really makes a difference, because the success nowadays, and that's the way it is somehow, it's like, can you make your living on that? To become a professional, if you don't want to be a professional, it's fine. You will just to get some information or knowledge about that. But if you want to be a professional and make your living on that, you need those tools. And then answering the other question about the mainstream or the high culture or low culture, if it exists, which I think it doesn't. It's also a category. I have to say that I am an ambitious person in creative terms, and for me the goal, that's personal too, but it's, if you can create a project that can have all these layers, that it's and that's very, very difficult, but that's an ambitious goal. But if you know about this high culture way of moving and way of thinking, and you work that way, but at the same time you have in consideration that an image, a photograph, is something that everybody can understand or can enjoy. If you are able to put all these layers, then you can have both.
Yeah.
But I said again, it's very, very difficult, but I think it's interesting to at least have the will or the purpose to achieve that. And then that's the way I like to work, like thinking about I want to do things for the art world, meaning high culture, but I want my mom, and I put in those terms because it's something that I think we all can feel related. I want my mom to understand or to enjoy what I do because she can see a photo and say I like it or I don't like it. Although I don't know why I like it or I don't like it, and that's the difference. People in the art world, they could write you essays and why it's a good piece or a bad piece or why it works or it doesn't. So it's just having like these two things in mind to create a project.
Yeah, I suppose that what I think it's important and it's powerful is that at the end it can be something that is less about this one single picture that can be strong visually and to develop a narrative or some type of visual narrative that can explain something in a way that can be. And it's not really about culture. I would say that some people, graphic designers, for example, or stuff like that, they will be visually more sophisticated. They understand balance and composition and that type of thing. It's not necessarily they need to be scientific. You're a biologist as well, or something, or some type of thing. But it's less related to culture and more related to how people have an impact through a sequence of images or a single image, which I think it's more complicated. We live in this social media, which is a question that I have for you as well. This question about social media and Instagram and that type of thing, and how to mix that into professional world and promotion and stuff. But I would say that there are loads of authors in different fields that they only know that, right? That trend in Instagram or something like that, and there's so much more. And that's one of the reasons that I find the master so interesting, because there is no only photographers. You have Fiorenza, it's a book designer and curator, and I think that point of view gives this value of someone that really wants to be serious with photography. These different perspectives at the end. That's very strong. But what do you think what would you say about this, Instagram trend? Because I think I'm introducing this thing because there are loads of YouTubers, for example, that they use photography and they make a lot of money. They make a great living, and I think that it's part of what it will be being an artist or being an author, is using these tools somehow that feels very shallow, but at the end there are more tools.
So on one side, social media is a tool, as you said, and it's interesting. And whenever you have a tool to make a good use of that, it will give you an advantage, or it will help you to develop whatever you wanna share or develop, and that's an important thing. And that's on one side. And then because one thing is for me, there's a difference between creation and market, and you have to have it clear all the time. Like one thing is the market, and another thing is creation, and they meet at some point, but it's not they fully match. It's just like there's a place where they meet, So like the tools help you to move in the market, and tools belong to the market somehow. Or these kind of tools like social media would be part of the market, and as you said, you can make a lot of money on social media through photography. But then there's the creativity and creation. Are you creating value with what you're sharing, or are you just creating money? So that's also different concepts. Like value is one thing and money is another thing, and sometimes they match, okay, but not always. You can make a lot of money and create no value, or no value outside of the capitalist way of thinking. So social media is a tool. It's important to know it and to use it in your favor. But then it comes to another question with everything you were talking about, like YouTubers using social media. Who is using who? I open the wide lens here, like who is using who? I mean, is the authors using social media, or are the people behind the social media using the authors? So that's like put it with a I'm not I'm not answering in a clear way, but just to make you think like who is using who in this case, talking about the market, and then talking about creation and creativity is something that you and I'm talking about trends. For me, like when you are like really creating things that make sense and talking about a bit again, if you move with what we think or I think about art, you are out of trends. You are out. I mean, you are part of your contest and you're gonna create through that. So you're living in this world and you're living in your but you are not working with trends or with the things that will give you more views, more impact, or more. No, you're working from somewhere else that is deeper from that. So that's the creation area. So it's important, I think, to keep these concepts as a creator or as an artist or as a photographer, if you want to like have your own authorship, have these two things like clear that, and they're gonna meet at some point. Maybe I want them to meet in YouTube, and I want to make my money in YouTube. Okay, they meet there, perfect. But maybe I want them to meet in an art gallery, and I know, and that's my experience, that if I share my work on Instagram or in YouTube too much, people who buys in the art gallery, talking about the market, maybe won't be so happy, or my work wouldn't be sold so good in this market because the buyers are not so into these all the lines. But that's the market again, you know. So it's not that, and I want to like say that it's not one thing that is better or one thing than the other. It's just different channels or different systems that you decide where you want to move, and the market makes you move in some directions, or you have to take decisions here. But the creation side, there you have the control, or you do whatever you want, and then try to move from this part to the market part and see how to navigate both or to make them both to be balanced somehow. I don't know if you're
I think that's why I was asking all of this, because precisely I think that you know your answer, your explanation about this, it's very good. There is a market and there is a balance, and the question that you ask is fantastic. Really, I think that people should think about it more. You know, who is using who? That's pretty cool. But I think that it's important to think about it, because you know tools are tools, and there are ways to use it and to promote yourself, and even to have certain type of income that can collaborate with this other planet. You know, I was trying to introduce this idea because there is lots of people on social, on Instagram or YouTube or whatever it is, they don't really know this other printed world, if you want, right? Or physical world. They think that what is happening in photography, and I'm sure that in your school, that's why you ask for a portfolio, I suppose. You have some people that they think that that's photography. It's what you share on Instagram, what you share on this thing. And there's this other planet of people collecting prints or books and stuff like that. And I have to say, of course, that there is nothing more extraordinary than to have. In my case, I love photo books. I think it's, you know, it's the biggest, it's the nicest way to lay out a body of work that has, for me, of course, right? I love exhibitions, but books are probably what I love the most. So, you know, more than questions, this social media stuff, it's more like a comment to see what's your opinion, both of you, and to see how, you know, how we deal with that aspect of it, that it's there at the end, right? And yeah, I don't know. So I was wondering as well, going back to the other side of this thing for Fiorenza, you're a book designer, besides not only a curator and all that stuff. So explain to me a little bit what's happening in the photo book, in this case, world and trends, and what's happening around. So in my experience, and correct me, of course, and explain to me the reality of it. This, you know, working with a big editorial, it's a problem. what people encounter that I know is that they ask you for, money on front, and you pay to the editorial to make your own book, which is tricky. So I've been, in my case, self-publishing for a few years now. I think it's the way. Maybe less copies, less numbers, working more in limited editions and that type of thing. But what would be your experience, your ideas about all that stuff?
Yeah. I think, we with Toni, we share this experience of passing through different phases of the photo book market. And for me, I want to say that I'm like you, I'm more passionate in the physicality of photography and the real connection of photography in a real space, because I believe that photography is something that you take from the real world and has to come back to the real world. But this is a big discussion, and has to do with documentary photography. So what is documentary photography, what it means to document. But this connection with the reality, it's really important for me. I think it's the most strong photography is coming from this connection. And this is a deep feeling, and it's something that makes me love photography very much. And I think it's the same feeling that I have with book and with exhibition. And for me, I define myself a curator in the space of book and exhibition, because for me it's just changing the space. And so I'm a book designer, but I think I'm more a curator in the space of the book. And what make me really enthusiastic about the book is the possibility to anyone to reach public everywhere, because you can send the book, you can make the book travel, and the book is lasting a lot in time, a lot more in time than the exhibition. But then also the exhibition has other fantastic point, and I think self-publishing is really good way of moving in the book market. And also Toni is self-publishing since years, and I've been following his also his experience there. But I'm also, since I was working in photography, I've seen the independent publisher world growing, and I've seen many publisher that disappear. I've seen publisher becoming bigger, and so I think I cannot stay only on one side. I think I'm on the side of self-publishing, but also on the side of publishers. And it's true that there are big publishers that sometimes they make this market with a photographer, but there is this rumors that it seems that it's really an unfair dealing, but at the end is a deal that is accepted by the photographer. So I think it's just a deal. If you accept it, you are in the deal. You can also not accept it. So I don't know if there is really something wrong in the behavior of this mainstream publisher. And for me, it has been really interesting when I was studying the history of photo book to realize that the thing of paying for the photo books, it was something that exists since the existence of photo book. So it's in a way, it's something that is related to the book dissemination and life.
I agree.
I think in this world, there is some publishers that are more fair, some are less fair. But I think to be a good self-publisher, you have to be a really keen publisher. So yeah, a photographer is a photographer, but if you are a self-published photographer, you have to do all the work that the publisher do. So sometimes I suggest to people not to do it because they don't have the knowledge to do it. Then there is people probably like you and Toni that also know how to do it, and probably they enjoy to do it.
Well, Tony is the master here. So, I do what I can, but I don't think that it's unfair, really. I think that it's unknown for people, which is a little bit different. So, of course, if I approach an editorial, a publishing group, and they ask me for 30,000 euros, and this is the conditions, and I accept that, that's fine. I know lots of photographers that do it. I don't, and it's great. I think that what happens sometimes is that people don't say that that's what's going on, and then everybody's looking for that type of thing, having a deal with a publisher, and then they find the reality. And I think that it's interesting, and Toni is a fantastic example of that, of finding your own way of doing great stuff, that it stays out there and it's recognized everywhere. Since the first thing that I am aware about Toni's work, it would be the book Pain. I think everybody knows about that. It's really, and all the rest. It's very cool. So yeah, it's not, as I said, it's not fair or an unfair thing. It's something that it's important to expose to people, I would say, and this experience of doing it yourself, if you can, and if you have the capacity, and and you can do it. Can you explain a little bit your experience with that, self-publishing and creating your own ecosystem and your own audience to finish it with the package?
I 100% agree about being the unknown deal with the publishing houses, but at the same time, it's not, maybe unfair is not the word, but it's tricky because, as you say, when you make a book with a publishing house, it gives you some status, or it seems that, let me put it that way, like you've been successful through your work, that someone puts money to create the body of work through your photographs. So that's what it used to be, as far as we know. Like, okay, I like your work, that's interesting work, I'll put money for that to create a book. So that gives you some status, and that gives you, like, on your audience, that there's someone really betting on your work, so meaning that's a good work. So it's maybe not unfair, but it's tricky that they do that you pay and no one says that, so it seems like your work is really good and someone else put the money, but you are the one putting the money, which at the end, and that's my point here, let me be a bit reivindicative, like, they shouldn't be called publishers, but distributors.
Yeah.
So that would make a difference, and language is important. So and just to say that, when I was at the point that I was wanting to make a book, and I got to know all this, I said, like, so I can do it myself, and if I make money on that, that would be for me. If I lose money on that, that would be for me. But on the other, with an editorial house, I would be losing money for sure. So as I said before, like, being aware of the numbers is important to develop a long-term career, at least. So I decided to self-publish myself, and I was very lucky, I have to say, like, or somehow I was lucky, and on the other hand, I wasn't aware of the effort I was confronting, and the amount of work you were going through. But at that point, and that's linking with the program of LABASAD, why you need to know the market, why you need to know how to navigate in it, because I decided, and I studied that, and it's not. Fiore was saying, like, sometimes people have all the skills. Or at that point, when I years ago, I decided I can learn it. I want to learn it, and I'm going to do it in a creative way, because I realized, and that's something that it was something that really changed in my I was wanting to be a photographer at the time, and I say, but that's also photography. Learning how to promote your work is also photography. It's not photography through a camera, but it's also, you can be creative on that. So let's put it that way, and let's be creative. So I started self-promoting the book, and I learned how to do it, and how to send press releases to the media, or how to make a presentation, and then you need to invite someone who is a well-known photographer, or a well-known someone in the field that is next to you on that kind of things. So you learn, and I start doing them just to be able, because I was want to promote my book, because through the book I was promoting my work and my, yeah, and being a photographer. So my experience is that it, you can achieve it, but you need to invest a lot of time, a lot of, apart from the money that you pay for the publishing of the book and so on. But make a big effort, and learn different skills that, from my perspective, they can be creative too. And if you make it in a creative way, it's gonna work. But that's the difficult part. Like, if you cannot follow a rule here that, okay, so first day you do this, second day you do, no. It's just like, be creative, be really aware on how everything's going, and keep on. And through social media, I sold pain, as we were talking before. I sold it like completely, like almost 500 copies through social media, and a website. But I mean, it didn't arrive to a shop physically, because in 3 months that was sold out. It was a hype. I mean, it was something like, it's then I realized after that it's not a common case, but it was through the social media. But like, getting to know the tool and how to communicate through the tool, and this kind of things. But yeah, it's not an easy field, but you can, I mean, you can work, and you can do it, and if you do it properly, like, you learn the tools of how to do that. But yeah, it's a difficult but not impossible way. And self-publishing, I really encourage people to do self-publishing, because of what we're talking. Like, instead of giving your money to someone that will distribute your work, just, if you have the time, and you can do it yourself. Like, it's, at least you will learn a lot.
Yeah. I suppose that one of the things, the masters goes through all of these parts that, as you were saying, you need to be a professional. It's not the same just to be a photographer than a professional photographer. There's this many things. And I would say probably, with this self-publishing thing, is to get to have some type of audience that will buy these 500 copies, 1,000 copies of a book or something like that. You need to be you need to know how to build that. And that's part of, marketing yourself and all those things. And also having, because I would say that, and I would like both of your opinions about this. I would say that photography, especially the social media part of it, is quite endogamic. It's photographers buying to other photographers, if you like, and that type of thing, going to workshops, and it's photographers for photographers, buying stuff which no one has the money really to do it, so everybody is poor at the end. But I would say that your work, it transcends that a lot. You are well known among photographers, that's obviously, but I think you go beyond that, and maybe if you can explain, if you could tell if that's true or not, and also it might be related to that idea that you were talking before about these boundaries of the arts or photography itself, because yeah, as I said, I think that your work doesn't go only to other photographers that enjoy your work, or how to put together a sequence, but goes to people that it might be collections and things like that. That it's at the end the audience that we all try to have. Both of you, whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I get. I think I get your point. Sure, you wanna say something on that, or?
There is two sides of the question. No? On one side, there is this, the bad side is this small community, but it's true. The market of the photo book is small and is often made by a professional, but then there is the possibility of going through these boundaries, and I think the secret for that is what Toni was saying through his experience. You have to, I don't know, maybe, there is this fantastic rules for young artists from Baldassarre, and he said you have to be in the good place at the right moment. You have to have the best friends, and you have to really be yourself. It's like the first what Eric Kessel is going to teach in our master. So you have to find what is the best difference of what makes you different from all the others, and you have to push this really, really, really strongly. So that was the starting idea when Toni was saying, for me, art is pushing myself very much the boundaries. And so if you have really something to say that is urgent and you push it very strongly, so saying it in the most individual and strong way, then something can happen that can destroy this limitation of the boundaries and of the small community. And I think the small community is something that we have to deal with. I think it's also a good thing. It's not a large market, and because photo book before was just a large market. So in the history of photo book, we start from monography, no? So you arrive at the end of your career to a photo book, and now it's the opposite. You start with the photo book as a presentation card. Of course, the other side of this is that we have a lot of business card, of presentation card, a lot of books, and at the end, what is really strong is a few, and these few can go through all the barriers. So there is no secret. It's just building up your own voice and being strong and pushing to it. And it's really nice to talk about it, because at the end, what I can say when we talk about all these things and the master is that we build up the master from this real experience. So you see, there is no at the end, what is in the master is what we experience in the real world, and so we build up the master from the real experience. That's why it's really easy to talk about to jump from one question to the other and to talk to the master. So that made me really happy about it. No, so I don't know if I answer or.
Yeah, and I look, I have almost like a quote from you that I love. That it's, before we did this monograph and the end of career books, and now we have like the presentation book, and I think it's a fantastic way of proposing that this thing exists and people can do it. And of course, you have to do it well, and to push those boundaries or whatever it is to make yourself a little bit different, just to have a knowledge and a talent, I suppose.
There is also a quote from Eric Kessel that was really interesting about the photo book. He said that the photo book gives a stage to everybody.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic image, no?
Yeah.
And then the quote continues saying, the photo book is addictive, but it's not dangerous, something like that.
It's also very cool. Well, it can be dangerous because it's a little bit, it's pricey, but it's very cool. Anything to add, Toni?
No, pretty much that idea of, yeah, like also the same ideas that Fiore said already, like the pushing the boundaries also can be related to this audience, like how to create new audience, and that's what we are doing here somehow. And I think it's very photographic too, although there's no, we are not shooting a camera literally, but it's pushing the boundaries to create new audiences and to make people, because at the end, or the core of photography, it's to be able to share something that, as Fiore said, is personal. It's a personal view, it's a personal project, it's a personal experience or whatever. But if you make it very, very personal, and that's a bit tricky too, because maybe you can get into this personal diary, which we have seen maybe too much sometimes. But like people can connect with that, and that's why people, that's how you create an audience too. When you're talking about things that everybody get the connection, and then that's something that you need to dig very deep inside. And let me put that metaphor that maybe can sound cheesy, but I have that feeling that it's about digging inside, is finding your own personality or your own yeah, what makes you different from the rest, and you through photography or through whatever, but let's talk about photography. If you dig deep inside enough, you find a place where it's connected with the deepness of the others. So that's what will make your work interesting to others, and maybe they don't know that, or they're not aware when they see your work. But I don't know, like talking about my why pain was something that called the attention of the people, or because it was talking about something that is somehow universal, like it's the pain of the economic system and the nationality and the crisis at the time and blah blah blah. But it's doing this work that it is, you dig inside to find something that you really feel inside, because it's a feeling that is shared with everybody. But it's not an easy work, but that's about that idea of finding your own voice, your own, putting your personality in your work. It's not just about creating images that are beautiful or nice or blah blah blah, but even even deeper than that, that things that can connect with an audience, that they, when they see it, they feel the same, or they recognize something inside them through your work.
It's an emotional connection with the audience.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So I wanted to ask this a little bit more at the beginning, and I forgot because this is very interesting. But the question that lots of people ask is, what is new documentary photography? What it means, or contemporary photography? I don't know if there is a difference now, or is the same type of approach. So what would be, because the master is new documentary photography, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what is that?
Yeah, we realized, or after all these years of work, and as we said before, like almost 20 years in the field, um, that it has been a change. I would say, I don't know, it's difficult to set a date, an exact date on that, but around the 90s, 2000, with the digital revolution, probably, like the approach to photography has absolutely changed, that's for sure, because now we have cell phones with camera, social media, blah blah blah. So the image has has got another signification, another perception of our lives. That's for everybody. And in the in a professional way, and especially in documentary photography, it has changed through a, first of all, like getting, blending the, as you said, with the blending with other disciplines, like adding layers. Now we have the tools to easily put audio in our work, put video in our work, and make it very different from what photography had been since the digital revolution. That's on one side. On the other one, it's about, and here is where the art gets in somehow. Like, it's not about what's outside or what reality we think reality is, but also like getting to understand that there is a point of view, there's a way of seeing things, and there's a way of living and experimenting things. And I agree with you, like the photo book is the best way to enjoy a photo essay or a body of work of photography, because you can get to know, it's like a movie somehow. Like I get to be able to see other people's life, but through someone view or someone way of seeing and living. And that's something really amazing somehow, because I cannot get out of my body. That's for sure to the moment, thanks God. But through these disciplines, I can experiment life through others' perceptions. And I think like the new documentary is on this way. And then yeah, contemporary documentary photography would be kind of synonymous. But I like I'm thinking loud. I'm thinking out loud now, but that we choose the word new because it might change and we can keep on changing. And that's something like I think is very interesting also. And I used to have with my photography more the big photographer friends that I have, that I love them a lot, but they think photography is something solid, something that's the way it is. And for me, it's the other way around. It's something that it's alive, it's changing. I am changing every day. Life is changing, photography is changing. And it has been developing. And it's not about saying, no, 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 this is not photography because photography is what it was in 1950s. No, photography was 1950s and that was great, but photography is also in the 21st century. And that's what it's the new documentary photography is the one that is evolving and changing with the times because the audience has changed. The audience has another knowledge, has another perception of the image and photograph. So if we want to keep on being documentary photographers, we have to change. And then that's why that would be the explanation about this new that is like we are renewing our the language or renewing our approach to the documentary photography. That will be a bit and it's contemporary now, but in 20 years, in 30 years, what now is contemporary will be old-fashioned for sure.
That's a fantastic explanation. And it's the best one because I would say that probably people, when they hear this new documentary stuff, they think about just conceptual things, right? Weird photography, let's call it, right? For in a kind way.
I really thank you for your question because I think you are really finding the point that can be difficult to understand from outside, and sometimes probably when we use our language, then from inside the language, it can be a little bit elliptical or not really clear. So it's this thing about new documentary. It's really important for me. What I define, it's really, I think Toni was really good in seeing this fluidity, this continuous changing in documentary, and we keep the word documentary. And I think what I just want to add, and in a way I wanted to say, I've already answered this question because for me, new documentaries connecting with reality and telling stories or trying to understand, using photography to understand reality and the way we describe reality, using all this possibility of photography. So what is changing in new documentary photography is that we keep the connection with reality, but we can open the field of documentary photography to any kind of way to use the language. And that's really challenging, and it's something that we love very much.
It's pretty cool. It would be like the difference between fiction and fantasy or something like that. It's interesting. A question that arises would be, because let me ask something first. So with a new documentary project, let's say, I understand that you can include sound or text or different types of outlets, digital, paper, exhibitions, different things. Maybe the photography bit can be a little bit more old-fashioned or classic approach, but everything surrounding it can be, something different or more new to add to this new way of sharing things with people. Is that a possibility, or it always includes the visual aspect of it, the photography itself needs to be also something that needs to be more conceptual?
I think it's both things. Of course, it's interesting that if you want, you can add things to the photography main structure, main project, but you don't have to. It depends on the kind of author you want to be. It depends on your attitude, what you like to experiment. So you can also be a new documentary photography or doing a new documentary photography project without using just photography. But I think that inside photography, yeah, you should work with experimenting or questioning on the language.
Okay.
So that's, but it's really easy to understand, and it's something that I'm really passionate about how the visual language works. And so what is the difference in between a photography that is just a record of reality? Because the fantastic thing of photography is that the medium is just a recorder. So it's a machine. But then you need the author to transform this recording in something. And so here is in this space of representation in between reality and the author, that something happened that is really interesting. And I would say that in new documentary photography, the author is not only talking about what is photographing, but always also about photography, always. So it's not so conceptual, it's not so artsy, no? It's not that it has to be difficult and conceptual, but you are questioning the medium. It's like in literature, it's when you write just for rights, or when you write to be a writer, you are rebuilding the language also.
That's a pretty cool explanation. I like it.
Yeah.
A lot. It's very interesting. So, do you have something to add to that, Toni? Or we?
No, I was yeah, really very interesting answer from Fiore, and I was thinking, let me be a bit pedant. About John Berger, like he said that a photograph is always talking about three things. One thing is the thing that is in the image that you were looking at. The other thing is the person who has shot the image, which is the author, and the medium. There's always, in a photo, you can always think about these three things. And I was thinking, and I completely agree with you, that it's being aware of these three things when you develop your work, and try to put them as a higher level possible. Like what is in the image has to has all this composition, all this work, but at the same time, the author has to be aware that is present in the image somehow, and the medium, like questioning the medium, how do you use the medium makes sense. So yeah, I was thinking that it's a great explanation, and as what you said is, yeah, the answer is like it depends on the project. About the yeah, you can do whatever you want. Just and it's not just to make it new because it's new. That's something I think it's important also to explain. Like it's not, no, that's new because it's super original. But does it make sense with the project? Like, okay, you put music in your exhibition or something like but there's a relationship between what you're showing in your images and all these new media that you're using? If there is not, it's gimmick. It's not, doesn't, so it's more about that, and yeah. So everything, one thing I really like about our job is that everything is possible. but you have to make it in a coherent way.
Yeah. That's pretty fantastic answer from both of you. And everybody should read more John Berger, I would say. Which also, it's pedantic if you want, but it's pretty cool. So people need to have that understanding. Also, he talks about
and he's one of
the.
Let me say.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me say he's one of these cases that for me he's able to reach the high culture and the low culture that doesn't exist. But like you can go through to Berger and doesn't matter how much you know about image of photography, you will get something from him for sure. Like he's someone who explains things in a very plain way, in a very simple way.
Students that you have in the masters can be from professional photographers, photojournalists, to people that maybe don't have a classic education in photography. They are maybe self-taught. But I was wondering, because you go through so much stuff in the masters, so you touch so many things. It's very complete. I would say to people that there will be the links of the master will be in the description of the video. So I would suggest to everyone to go to see what's going on. But one of the things that makes me wonder is not maybe so the boundaries of the language itself and the art and all that stuff. Is, let's imagine that you have a photojournalist that wants to participate in the masters in new documentary. How is he going to, if he wants to, how is he wants to try to pitch, for example, a story to a newspaper in which they have this etiquette, I don't know really how to call it, these do's and don'ts, don't retouch, don't even flip a picture, I don't know, that type of thing that is more like the ethics of the journalism world, if you want, which it's somehow in a new documentary project, it can be blurry because you might manipulate images, you can, which I think it's an interesting conversation, this relationship that photography always had with the truth, people call it, which is, I don't think that it's true, but people somehow, they mix that stuff. And I would guess that in a journalistic sense, especially in some place like a newspaper, how you manage that, or you just look for a different type of outlets.
Yeah, ask like no. I mean, in fact, there is one on the second model that Jack Latham is doing like new journalism, and because that's where we come from. Like that's the way I see it. First, it was like kind of photojournalism, then it moved to reportage, and then we had documentary photography. It's kind of an evolution, but we come from journalism, and photojournalism are kind of the basis, and I think you have to be aware, and that's why it's important to know the rules of the market you want to play in. But I think it's like you want to play football, you can touch the ball with your foot, but if you want to play basketball, you can't, and you have to play with your hands. But both of them are sports and ball sports. So same with photography. I mean, if you want to publish in a newspaper, you have to get to know a bit the rules they have or the ways they want to present the work. And if you want to be there, you have to respect those rules. The other thing is that if you get, and that's something I like to happen, but I don't know if we'll see that, but if you get the confidence of the people, like the editors in the newspaper, and then you can propose them to be creative to at some points, or there are spaces in the newspaper to be creative too and present other kind of images. But that's like a long-term project. If you just want to just knock the door and have your work printed there, you have to follow the rules at the beginning. So it's not one thing or the other. I mean, it's like you have to be aware of that. You can create a project or new documentary photography, and but if you want it to be in a newspaper because you think it can match, then you use or you reframe your work to be able to be in there. It's just again, like who is using who. Like it's not I'm not working for the newspaper, I'm working for myself, but then I have outcomes of my work. So if I want my work to be in a newspaper, I know how to do it. If I want my work to be in a gallery, I know how to do it. And then find your place. And Yeah, I get your point, and I know like somehow, and that's my experience with former students that we have had like photojournalists in because we have a Spanish edition in LABASAD about the new documentary program with all the teachers and so on, and they were like active photojournalists working in newspapers, and they were really looking for this kind of knowledge or teaching that because they were kind of bored with their own practice.
Yeah.
Because after years of doing always the same kind of images, the same kind of rules, they say, no, no, I'm looking for more, and it's here. So yeah, so just to you can be a photojournalist working for a newspaper full-time job, but at the same time you can have your own or develop your own projects and your own work that can be seen in other ways and sometimes or in some spaces of your newspaper. And in my case, I've been like that's a funny thing, but I was wanting to be a photojournalist also like 20 years before ago or even more. And I end up having my work published in newspapers, but in the cultural section.
Yeah.
So it's there somehow, but whenever and they ask me for photos, yeah, can you have a photo of, yeah, sure, and it's in the cultural section. They have my photos there, and for my personal projects too. So it's just like to find the space or how to navigate, as I said before, like in this or with the different rules or the different ways of presenting your work. So meaning like it's not one thing or the other. It's just like you get more tools or you learn to use better all together.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, I suppose that one of the benefits of going through a master's like the one that you offer is this ability to, especially with the range of teachers that you have, is to be aware of the different type of outlets and outputs of what you can do with your own work, and that's important. That's one of the reasons I always try to to preach this idea of recycle yourself and try to see what's out there, even if you want to stay where you are visually, if you want, because you enjoy it, or you don't want to be, because someone that is not interested in to make money with photography can go to your masters, for example. That's just because they want to know more.
Yeah, sure.
They will enjoy it with your question, because a big part of our audience are people that they maybe are not necessarily interested in being a professional photographer in the foundation of the sense. They don't want to make a living from it every month or every
Yeah,
year.
they don't need it.
They don't need it. They may want to publish a book. They may want to do a few exhibitions. They take seriously their work, but they don't necessarily want to go to the gritty meaty of being a professional photographer. So it's something that the master's program, it can be beneficial to someone like that. I would say yes, but people will ask me that. So prefer.
You want to answer or?
I think it's a yes. I've been teaching to any kind of students, and I found people doing other works that made fantastic projects, and sometimes they even turn their life to photography or yeah, there is many possibility to use a language in a professional way, even if you don't need to make money from that. The idea is that we are taking seriously, and we are going to make a lot of training and exercise to build up something. But then what you do with what you learn, it's your choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I like to think that, yeah, if you want to become a professional photographer, you have all the tools. But if you have another job or your life is also already set in an economical way, yeah, you will learn a lot. And that's something I feel proud about, that at the end, it's about teaching or sharing some humanistic values. And for sure, if you are a whatever, you have another job, that would change your perspective or your approach, or you would get values, you would get information that will be very useful, maybe not in an economical way, but in a way of living. And that's something that it may sound a bit big, but that's the way it is, that I really appreciate, or I'm very happy of being a photographer, that I've learned a lot through my colleagues' work, like being able to see other realities, as I said before, from all over the world, but at the same time, like seeing the way other people feels, other people lives, and then also through a camera. So for sure, I mean, they are more than invited to be in the masters, and with this perspective that you would get for sure, like humanistic values that will be very, very useful in your everyday life.
That's very nice. And also, I would say that you guys have people from all over the world, which is something that I would say that especially the people that is part of our society, and our audience, it's something that they value. And I think there's a great value, as you were saying. Sometimes you learn a lot from your colleagues and from people with different perspectives, different countries, different places. Something it's very strong, especially if you are learning to see and to try to tell some kind of story, to share. One of the things that it's part of the masters is that everything is live, the classes, right? So of course it's recorded and it's in the platform and all that stuff, but the lesson happens live with everybody that is available, I suppose, at the moment, with the teacher. It's they can interact and the type of thing.
Yes,
Yeah. Why, Fiore?
yeah, the master has both virtual and real, because we are all in different places, but we are a community, and there is really a class. You get to know each other, you collaborate. There is a group, and we are sharing time and space together. And yeah, that's what make the master class really effective. It's we can have the professional from everywhere in the world, and we can have students from everywhere in the world, and this is something that we found really interesting, because we get to know many different thematic and approach. And but at the same time, we are really sharing. We really want to make something that is collaborative.
Which is pretty cool. I was looking at this body of work, the Chasing Dragons, that this photographer was doing the project also at the same time as the master, and he was in China, which is brilliant, because you are on location, developing something, but you have the support of teachers and mentors and all that stuff, which is pretty cool, I think. So,
Yeah, that's something that we really appreciate, that the fact that you can be all over. And then that's a good case from Iago Soria, that he was in China shooting this project Chasing Dragons, and we were mentoring him on live. Like every week we had a meeting, and he could show the work that he had been developing during that week. And what is really interesting is that in the class you can see projects from all over the world at the same time, and that's very something very interesting as a teacher, but also as a student, that you maybe, and that's a final project that everybody has to develop their own idea, their own project, which is at the end of the masters. But on the second module, the students, they are given assignments for a month. They work with one teacher, and every week they have to show work all together, and the work is commented and discussed with the whole class to get a feedback to the person who has shot it. And that's very interesting, that you can see how, as I said, like there's someone in, I don't know, in New York. Okay, so you get same assignment, one kind of images, but there's someone in China, same assignment, it's completely different.
yeah.
So it's all the different cultural backgrounds, all the different countries that you have in the class. Every week it's very exciting to have all these perspectives.
So yeah, I would recommend everyone to check the website to see what's the program about, especially where, you know, if you want to try to develop something a little bit more sophisticated and interesting, with and learn new ways of producing work, which I think it's always important. And I suppose that people can send you guys emails and ask you something if they want to, if they have questions. So I will put, as I said, everything in the description, all the links, all those things. And I think that I don't have, well, I have more questions, but I don't want to get you be here like for 2 more hours. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. It was super interesting.
Yeah, it was very funny to be 2 Spanish and 1 Italian, because we tend to ramble a lot. It's pretty
true.
cool. But I like it, so
no. It was very interesting, and thank you very much. Like it was we talk about very many interesting topics, and as you say, we could be talking for hours here, but that's why we created the masters. Like then we have 9 months to talk about all these topics in detail and go through the images, and yeah, so we're happy to see like applications and who is interested or who can think that what we are proposing can match in their development, so are more than welcome.
And also to say that this is a school that is based in Barcelona, and I'm from there, and some of the people that is watching knows. So it makes me especially proud, and it's cool for me. So check it out and go to LABASAD to see what's happening. And if you have questions, send emails or ask me, and I will resend the emails to Toni or to Fiorenza. And that's it. So thank you both of you, and see you very soon.
Thank you very much, and see
Thank
you
very much.